There was an ear-splitting bang as the bullet embedded itself inches before Jacob's foot, making the man jump back in fear. "How could you pull the trigger on me?" Jacob cried, outraged. He never expected Natasha to be the type to do something like that to her elder. If the bullet's trajectory had been slightly off the mark, he would have lost his foot. "You better not mess around, Uncle Jacob," Natasha threatened frostily. "How dare you?" Trent roared. "Natasha Harmon, he is your uncle. You'd be disgracing our family if you had hurt him just now." "I don't want to hurt anyone, so you better not force me to," Natasha responded unrelentingly. "You bastard. Do you intend to betray your family for that boy?" Trent was furious. The Harmon family had always lived by a rule: nothing mattered more than the family's interests, which meant that they could sacrifice anyone if it meant saving their family. Therefore, Natasha's contradictory actions were seen as a sign of disloyalty. "All I care about right now is protecting Dustin." Natasha stood her ground. "How many bullets do you have, Natasha? Do you even have enough to kill all of us?" Kate taunted. "You can try." Natasha abruptly turned the gun toward Kate, making the latter pale and hide behind her father, worried that Natasha might actually do something outrageous and reckless out of love. "Are you out of your mind, Natasha? We are your family." Jessica could no longer remain silent. She was worried her daughter might impulsively hurt someone, making her the family's enemy. When Natasha didn't respond, Jessica turned to Dustin and snapped. "Dustin, are you going to drag my daughter into the mess you created?" "Natasha, put the gun down." Dustin reached out and pressed the gun downward to lower it, before turning to face the rest of the people. "I was the one who killed Layla, so the Grants will naturally look for me if they want revenge. Why are all of you so worked up? Me. As if things are that simple. Who knows whether you'll drag our family down with you?" Kate snorted. "I'm not even close to your family, so why would I drag you down with me?" Dustin answered nonchalantly. "You guys being afraid of the Grants is none of my business, but if you're trying to capture me to get in their good graces, I'm afraid that's impossible." "Nice speech, but what makes you think you have a say in this?" Jacob sneered. "Why not? I've always made the choices for my own life." Dustin responded. "This is our territory. We decide your fate," Jacob declared haughtily. "I don't want to fight, but I'll have no choice if you continue to provoke me," Dustin warned. "You sure are a stubborn one. Let's see how strong you are." Jacob drew his blade and swung it toward Dustin. "Stop." Out of the blue, a solemn voice boomed. Slowly, a white-haired elderly man strode in with the aid of a walking cane. "Father! Grandfather!" Everyone was visibly taken aback to see the old man, who had stepped back from the limelight 8 years ago and no longer concerned himself with family affairs. They were puzzled as to why he was there. "What are you doing here, father?" Trent welcomed his father hurriedly. Jacob stopped mid-attack and stood to the side respectfully as well. "You guys would have destroyed this place if I hadn't come." Andrew humphed. "Father, we still have some things to take care of. Why don't you go back to your room and rest if you're feeling unwell?" Trent reached out to help, but Andrew swatted his son's hand away. "Are you trying to say that an old coot like me has no right to interfere with family affairs anymore?" "Of course not, father. You will always be the head of the family." Trent smiled sheepishly. "Fine. Since you said that, I'll give you my opinion." Andrew surveyed the room. "Dustin has saved my life, as well as helped our family multiple times. We are in his debt, so anyone who tries to take him today will be going against me." "What?" The group shared dismayed glances. They never expected Andrew to stand up for Dustin during this crucial time. "Father, this bastard killed one of the Grant's daughters. He will only drag us deeper into this mess," Trent rebutted. "Trent is right. We're doing this for the greater good of the family," Jacob seconded. "You bunch say such lofty things when you're just cowards." Andrew struck the floor with his cane forcefully. "The Grants have been stepping all over us, and instead of standing up against them, you choose to grovel and please them. What an embarrassment to our family." Fath dash. Silence. Andrew cut off Trent's words. "Our family has gone through all sorts of trials since its existence. How could we embarrass our ancestors by losing our dignity because of something like this? The Harmons lowered their heads in shame, unable to deny that the Grants had shaken them greatly. Listen carefully, Andrew announced. Our priority should be to save Hector, and not be sitting ducks. He made Hector his successor because of how righteous and brave his son was, but now that Hector was captured, the entire family was thrown into chaos. Grandfather, we need to borrow the Grants' power if we want to save Uncle Hector. Our best option is to hand Dustin over to them in exchange for Uncle Trent. Kate coaxed. Nonsense. Andrew glared at his granddaughter. The Grants were the ones who framed and imprisoned your uncle, yet you think they'll help us? What a joke. What? Mr. Hector was imprisoned by the Grants. The crowd was dismayed to hear this. After all, framing the head of another family was not a small matter. Father, please refrain from making claims without evidence. There are ears everywhere. Trent reminded seriously. Evidence, you say? Sure. Andrew turned around and called out. Isfried. Bring him in. Immediately, the leader of the Shadow Guards dragged a man into the room. The man wore a hood that made it difficult to identify his face and was tightly bound from head to toe. See this man? He's the real murderer. Andrew yanked off the man's hood, exposing a familiar face. It was Hector's face. Mr. Hector. Everyone was puzzled by the sight. Hadn't Hector been captured? What was he doing here? Yeah, right. He's merely wearing a prosthetic mask. Andrew sank his fingers into the man's face and pulled, revealing skin with a sickly pallor. It's fake. The crowd exclaimed, stunned. They never imagined that something like this existed in real life, and it was shockingly realistic too. It was so well made that it nearly fooled everyone. Do all of you understand now? Hector was framed, and the ones behind this are the Grant. Are you still going to suck up to those treacherous bastards? Andrew seethed, rendering everyone else silent.